Simon.
Thank you very much. Actually, can I do as the last guy did, is take a bit of a selfie here. It's indulgent, but indulge me for a second. Smile. Thank you very much. All right, this session is about who's going to make money in AI. It's for the capitalists in the world that like to combine capitalism and data science. But actually, the talk is about money in AI, but really how to make AI and data science successful in enterprises in the real world. I'll give you a bit of my background, because hopefully that gives you context as to what I'm going to speak about. But really in my career, I've worn 3 hats. Today I run a advisory, which is really an AI management consultancy, helping organizations make sense of AI and create competitive advantage. But I wore 3 hats. My degree was in computing and artificial intelligence, which was an absolute waste of time, because back in the day, the computational power equivalent of an iPhone was about 100 million, so we weren't doing anything particularly interesting in AI. But I did get lucky and involved in the internet and early startups, and helped start a company called MapQuest.com, which was one of the first local mapping companies back. But really the past 20 years has been at senior executive levels trying to take data science, AI, digital, and make it real within organizations and create value. The other hat I often wear is a startup. I'm a co-president of the Harvard Business School Alumni Angels here, so we do a lot of fundraising and work with startups, and also an AI expert in residence over at CCamp. And hopefully many of you have heard of CCamp, a fantastic organization that brings AI, that funds early stage companies. Also board advisor over at Seldom, which is looking at machine learning deployment challenges, and a member of the Economic World Forum's 4th Internet Industrial Revolution Center in San Francisco. So the agenda today is really 3 things. The AI gold rush, what's actually going on in the dynamics of AI at the moment, where are companies starting, who's making money, who's going to win. The second area I have a look at is all of you are probably working on very important data science projects in your organization, but how do you make sure you take those projects and it's rolled out to the wider organization to create impact and value? And then if we've got time, we'll take a look at the secrets for AI and data science startups. What do you need to do here? So are you ready for another AI gold rush? This is a great picture from the late 1800s. In 1900s in San Francisco, where everybody went out west to try and make their money digging for gold. And the people that actually made money here, a few were lucky to hit gold, find a vein of gold, but most of the money was made by the picks and shovels in the gold rush. It was the guys who provided the picks and shovels, and it was Levi jeans that provided Levi jeans to everybody who was digging for gold. So the AI is a story, as we know, of many boom and busts. It's not the first time that we've been talking about AI. And one of the godfathers of AI, Marvin Minsky for MIT, brilliant, brilliant man, he said, within our lifetime, machines may surpass humans in general intelligence. And anybody want to guess which year that was? Hazard a guess. 1995, anybody? No? Down? Earlier? 70s. All right, anybody else? Very good. Said in 1961. And then in 1967, he said, within a generation, I'm convinced the problems of creating AI will be substantially solved. AI has always been about to be substantially solved, but we've never quite got there at this point. And the media today are just making claims and a hyperbole around AI that is just unbelievable as to what they are. But you know better than I, what's really different now is the power of exponential. I love this stack here, that in 2020, every one of the 7 trillion people on this planet will be creating every second 1.7 megabits of data. Incredible volumes of data. They also talk about if a car had improved at the same performance rate as a computer chip since 1971, it would be doing about 420 million miles an hour. And actually, this was from last year, so it's probably about double that at this point. And as you know better than I, the cost of software has gone to 0. So the frameworks that we now have available in open source from the likes of Google and Facebook and others is just incredible. I remember writing my first neural net, and I won't tell you when that was, but it was a long time ago. And it would take actually months because you had to build all of the frameworks effectively yourself. But now anybody can pull this off the shelf for effectively free. And it's these three dynamics that's just created huge use of AI. So in many respects, we've been through this before, and you are now the champions. It's in your hands to make sure that AI and data science starts to live up to the potential that it actually can. And it has the potential for not only in the enterprise, but also make society that much a better place. So who's going to make money? The key question. And there's no doubt there's a huge race going on for AI supremacy at this point. And we can see the race going on amongst chips and hardware providers. Who's going to have the best chips that we're going to run all of these AI programs on? Who's going to have the best platform and cloud infrastructure to run AI services in? Who's going to have the best frameworks and algorithms? Is it going to be the giants of Google, Baidu, and others? Or is it going to be new startups that are going to provide the best APIs for speech or the best APIs for NLP? Who is going to win this war for supremacy? And the fourth area that we're seeing AI battles going on is in the enterprise. If you think of the organizations today, you have HR software, you have customer management software, you have cybersecurity software. Who's going to provide the next level of AI-enabled solutions for the enterprise? And then we have hundreds of different AI providers looking at providing solutions for different vertical industries in healthcare, finance, and insurance. And there's a big battle going on to make sure that we have the next level of software here. And then finally, corporates. Who's going to take advantage? Which companies are actually going to take advantage of AI? We've heard a lot about the National Health Service working with DeepMind to be AI-enable the organization. But which corporates are really going to take advantage of AI and which aren't? And finally, the next level of AI, and it is at the nation level. There is very much a race going on between countries to be AI super leaders here. And we'll go into these a bit more. So the picks and shovels in this gold rush are going to be the tech giants. There's no doubt about it. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all of those want to be wherever AI is going on in the world. And there's going to be billions, millions of applications of AI going on. So in the chip side of things, look at a company like NVIDIA, which we know is very good on the gaming side of things. Their chips were suddenly working very well for blockchain and crypto. And they're also working extraordinarily well for machine learning because they're fundamentally supporting enormous tensor calculations in there. And then the cloud side of things, who's got the battle there? We all know Amazon Web Services really started the cloud services in the mid-2000s. But now Microsoft is unbelievably the most valuable company in the world. And it's come racing back because it's put everything to bet on the cloud at this point. And then APIs, the frameworks. Microsoft claims there are 1.2 million developers using their APIs for cognitive services in the cloud. Now, I don't know if that's true, but certainly it's directional. We all know how easy it is to plug into those APIs. So there's a big battle going on here, and these guys really are the picks and shovels. And then the next level up is enterprise solutions, powering the HR software, powering the CRM and alike. And we've got the incumbents such as Oracle, Salesforce. They're in millions of organizations around the world. But then we've got a whole series of startups. Digital Genius, which is a London-based company in the customer call center space, just raised 25 million. ZipRecruiter, which is AI-based recruitment, raised 156 million. Huge sums of money here. HireVue, which is a great Californian company, though a bit creepy. Instead of doing face-to-face interviews when you go into a company, you'll actually do the digital video interviews, and it will come up with insights. Are you confident? Do you actually answer the question? Are you waffling? That sort of thing. And it will analyze and compare people. Now, a lot of ethical and legal issues around this stuff, but Unilever, which is a massive consumer packaged goods company, they're claiming to save 50,000 hours of human time a year through these automated interviewing. I can keep going down here. Affinity's raised 137 million. Uipath, who's heard of Uipath, robotic process automation? Yeah. This is basically a Romanian-based company that came here to London. Out of nowhere, they've raised 448 million. They're worth about 6 or 7 billion today. Absolutely amazing. I can keep going down. Data Miner raised 557 million. That's a New York company in the analytics and intelligence space. Keep going down. Oh, Data IQ, which is out there. Great French company. Love the guys. They're totally irreverent, but they're really smart at what they do. They just raised 147 million. Dollars to help expand their battle in the AI front. But the incumbents aren't standing still. SAP recently acquired an AI company. They want to make sure they're AI enabled. Salesforce strengthens its AI capabilities with $800 million purchase of Datorama. Absolutely huge. And then this enterprise solutions go horizontally across organizations. You can have an HR solution in finance, HR solution in agriculture. But then there are vertical industry solutions, and Benevolent AI, which is looking to really a moonshot to solve healthcare problems, has raised 200 million here in London. It's a great British success story. And I can go down here, but there's huge sums of money being raised, especially in areas like robotics and logistics here. But what all of this suggests is those who are going to be successful, it is a game of scale. The more customers you can have, the more data you have, the more capital you have, the more talent, and you get into this virtuous spiral of success. So there's a real race to get big, and then get bigger and get bigger and bigger here. But watch out for fool's gold in the midst of this gold rush. I love this report. Every startup business plan that I see is now an AI enabled with their magical black box machine learning algorithm that optimizes 3,000 variables, and they're going to get a better answer than everyone else. But as this report from MMC Ventures noted, 40% of the about 3,000 AI startups in Europe are not really using AI at this point. And why do they do this? Because tech companies benefit from the perception that they've built sophisticated automation and AI rather than a system that relies on manual labor. So there's a lot of rubbish out there at the same time. So what are corporates doing with AI? Big enterprises, British Telecom, BBC, what are they all doing with AI? Well, Gartner reports put out a very rosy projection that by 2022, enterprises will create value equivalent to $3.9 trillion. They will save money, they will have additional revenues. That's huge, huge numbers of the impact on AI. Now, again, AI is sort of hyped a lot, but there's no doubt that there will be a big impact here. So what we see is there's really four main business benefits of AI. And when you talk to your executive colleagues, you can talk about AI will help increase revenues, be it new products and services, or it will help you do better sales and marketing. AI will help automation and operational efficiency, more productive, better processes. Customer engagement is another big area of AI that is focus for a lot of the suppliers. We've all heard about chatbots, which in most cases are fairly crap, but we're now on the sort of second, third generation of chatbots at this point. But saying that, Poly AI, which is wicked smart PhDers out of Cambridge, had just raised, I think it was $15 million for their London-based chatbot startup. So there is a lot of money going into this. And as you do day in, day out, you know that data science, AI, machine learning can provide that much deeper insights and that much better models to help power the business. So when we talk to executives, these are sort of the four areas that we focus on to help explain to executives why it's important to think about AI and data science. A bit about what we did at Best Practice AI is we spent a lot of time talking to executives and trying to get them to buy into AI. And we saw that they were struggling to really understand what it is. So we wanted to put it in a language that would help them. So we put together a library, and it's free to use at bestpractice.ai, of about 600 use cases and 1,000 case studies of how AI is actually being applied in the real world today. And this is to give them the confidence that they can understand the relevance of it to their organization. So in graph node format, because you're all data science guys, this is basically a model of what we have here. These are all the different functions in an organization, such as marketing, customer research, and the different use cases for AI. So if you're a marketing, you're a chief marketing officer, you unfortunately don't really care for the technical details of the model, but what you want to know is how AI and data science can help him or her improve their function. So how do I acquire more customers? How do I retain customers? How do I optimize my advertising campaigns with the best ROI? So this is the model that we sort of built out, the map of how AI is being used. So lots of case studies in here that you can take a look at. I pulled out a couple. Love this one, Makoto Cucumber Farm in Japan. It's a family-owned cucumber farm. And they've realized there's 7 different classifications and categories of cucumbers. And a guy, one of the owners in the back room, took 3 or 4 months of taking pictures of the cucumbers and labeling cucumber A, cucumber B, C, set up TensorFlow, and actually the models work, and they put that in production now. And then Connectera, which is a Dutch firm, increases dairy production by as much as 30% by tracking it, analyzing the health of cows with machine learning. It's amazing what actually AI is being used for these days. Let me go on from here. So the final level is the sort of the country level race for AI. And you've probably heard a lot about investments from governments on AI. France last year announced a 1.85 billion investment in AI to create and fertilize their industry and grow it. UK announced 1.3 billion investment in AI in cooperation with government. Europe announced a $22 billion AI investment, a lot of money. Then a Chinese city of Sichuan announced a 16 billion fund. That's one city. And they've also talked, now there's a lot of talk in China as well, of a $140 billion big fund to create their super semiconductor industry, a lot of it which would be chips. So China has made a very clear declaration that they want to be at the leadership and forefront of AI on a global basis. And Kai-Fu Lee, who just wrote a great book on China, has said China is the Saudi Arabia in data. And he points to stats such as the number of mobile internet users in China is 3 times the US. That's a vast amount of data being generated every second. The number of mobile payments going through the Chinese solutions is 50 times the US. And as you know, payment data is an absolute goldmine into what people are doing, what they like, what they're interested in things. And then food delivery, they're saying in China is 10 times what it is in the US. And finally, the number of shared bike rides in China is 300 times what it is in the US. And as you know better than anybody, this is the fuel for machine learning models and AI. Really? Oh, poor thing. So watch China closely in the battle for AI supremacy. So if you are interested in learning more, take a search for this article, Who's Going to Raise Money in AI? And there's a whole long spiel that we wrote about this topic. How are we doing on time? 20 minutes, I think. 20 minutes? Yeah. So the next area I wanted to go to is talking about how you become the champions of change for data and AI in your organizations. And I really enjoyed the last presentation, which was talking about lessons learned. And this is something we talk to a lot of executives about, is how do we take AI out of experimentation phase, out of departments, and actually put it into the wider organization to make a real impact on the business and hopefully the lives of many in the world. And as we know, the proof of concept is really the tip of the AI transformation iceberg. It's easy to get our frameworks and get TensorFlow, Keras, and start doing some basic experiments. But we need talent. People know how to do this, which is you. You need to know your data wrangling and your training set labeling. your data pipelines. You need to get your frameworks and algorithms. You need to have access to compute power, and then generally some level of project management support. And let's say your model does have predictive capabilities. We did a project last year on customer churn, which predicted with something like an 80% accuracy which customers would churn within the next 3 months. But then how do we take that really good work and put it into the wider organization? And one of the challenges in getting it into the wider organization is, or many of the challenges, is often sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you don't get a model or it doesn't scale. Technology maturity is another challenge of getting AI. Chatbots have had the hype, and it makes sense that chatbots have had the hype because they're a simple way of explaining what AI is. Executives get it, okay? You don't talk to a human, you talk to a machine. But there's been a lot of disappointment. Change management, getting humans to buy into it. We know that there's a deep underlying fear portrayed by the media that AI is actually going to take our jobs. There was a big report coming out of Oxford in 2013 talking about 30 to 50% of jobs are likely to be automated. That's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So there's naturally resistance to change in the organization. Processes have to be redesigned. How do you integrate AI models into your workflow processes? Is it a human replacement, so humans out of the loop? Is it humans in the loop that they will work with it, or humans over the loop and that they will actually overlook what the machine's a recommendation? And as you know, technology integration scale up, there's a huge amount of legacy technology stacks within organizations, often very fragmented databases. How do you integrate into that? And then it's difficult to deploy at times. If you think about a bank, big bank, in a few years' time, they're going to have probably thousands of machine learning models that they need to manage in the live environment. Machine learning models for trading and alike. So how do you make sure that you get the right model into deployment, it's the right version, and it still works, and it also meets compliance issues? So what the reports show is that really the biggest challenges are reported for getting organizations to be data-driven, and I don't know if this resonates with you, as people challenges. And 58% of executives cite insufficient organizational alignment or cultural resistance as the biggest barrier to business adoption. Does this resonate with anybody? Yeah, you say higher? Yeah. It's amazing. It's so bloody obvious to us in the room, the value of this stuff, but why can't others see what we so clearly see? It's always been an interesting question for me. And as the last person also said, AI and data science is a team sport. So it's important, it's very important that the human factors are always considered when you're building your projects, and how do you get alignment from your colleagues? Now, the first area we look at sort of 6 areas. We won't have time to go through all of these. But to really get the project out into the wider organization, you've got to agree a plan. You've got to get support from executives. Get the right people, you know all too well, data and technology. How do you put it into production, operationalize it, and how do you deal with the issues of risk management, for which there are a lot in AI? So the first area, get a plan. Executives don't care about the technology for the most part, I'm sorry. But what they do care about is what they're incented on. And the CEO of a company is incented on the shareholder value. Is the share price going up, or the value of the company? Have I got more revenues, and have I got more profits? So every time you think about your business, or your models and your AI solutions, can you put it into the language of the executives so that they care? If I'm doing this model, I can help improve customer retention by 5%, which is worth $5 million. That type of language gets the attention of the executives. So it's really important to put together case studies, use cases and case studies for your work so that the executives can start to buy into it. And then I love this statistic from McKinsey. They said that the largest motivator for a European company to adopt AI is competition. So go and find out what your competition is doing and then scare the bejesus out of your colleagues and executives saying, if we don't do it now, our competition is going to do it. That will provide great motivation. Not always for the right reasons, but frankly, it's a case of what works. And then, as we said, quantify the benefits, and this is too detailed to go through now, but this is the different types of AI solutions across different functions, like marketing, and the types of benefits they provide: cost benefits, data improvement benefits, operational benefits. But it's always you're having to sell the benefits in the language of the executives. People, challenge of senior management and buy-in. McKinsey study said 41% of the 3,000 executives admitted they've yet to adopt AI because they're not sure about how it can help them. And I think this is more the truth. They're not sure that they really understand what it is. But what is AI? Now, I don't need to go through this with you because you understand this, you're experts, but I can guarantee, because of the media, because of the hype, there is a huge amount of confusion at the high levels to what AI is. And it becomes very much like a blank canvas, which is people paint whatever pictures they want to of what they want AI to be here. So the more opportunities you have to educate, excite, and set expectations to your executives around AI, the better. And I won't go through it in detail, but we do quite a lot of executive education. We try to explain to them and set clear pictures of what AI is. So even something like a deep neural network, a lot of people don't have any ideas of that. How do you bring it to life? How do you excite people about it? How do you tell them that it's actually just massively multi-dimensional statistical pattern recognition? So we do a lot of work trying to educate there. Or even things like, we know AI is about sensing and cognition. As the car drives down the road, the level of object classification reasoning it has to do in real time is just incredible. And as Tim Cook said, autonomous vehicles are the mother of AI problems because the complexity involved in actually solving this is huge. So these are just some examples of how AI can be explained to our executive colleagues in a language that perhaps makes sense for this. I love this GANs, by the way. After 18 days, the adversarial network comes up with this person here that really it's hard to determine that this is actually a deep fake. What else we've got? AI is robotics. This is the DARPA challenge, which is a great collection of how robots are trying to accomplish human-like tasks. If you haven't seen it, it's really quite good. This bit's my favorite. Yeah. And the last area, RPA, we do give this demo of RPA and what it is, which is basically it's replicating data entry by humans. So something like using a robot to emulate and integrate the actions of a digital system. So this is creating an invoice basically here. But these types of things is bring it into something that they can understand and something they can get excited about. But at the same time, as Andrew Neig said, and I love this, he said, I would actually welcome a correction in public opinion about what AI can and cannot do. This has happened to me multiple times where I would listen to a CEO on stage make proclamations about how AI is going to transform their company. And then he says, 20 minutes later, I'd talk to one of their engineers and they'd say, no, we're not doing that and we have no idea how to do it. There's a bit of a disconnect going on here at times. So it's important, as you know, to set expectations, excite them, educate the executives, but at the same time, you've got to tell them that AI is not solved. A simple example we use is probably a CNN convolutional neural network has been trained on recognizing American school buses. So it has 100% probability that this is an American school bus, but as you rotate the object, it now thinks it classifies it as a garbage truck. a punching bag. Now, I have no idea how the classifier figures out that's a punching bag. And then it's a snowplow. It's got a 92% probability. Now, this is kind of weird, but actually, if you look at it, there's snow. This is what it's picking up on here. And there's a big area of AI about explainability and transparency. How does it know that an object is a certain way? What's the logic behind it? So the importance is really to help executives understand that this isn't a silver bullet. And then the other side of AI that's getting a lot of attention is what happens when AI fails. So we've heard of Uber killing a person crossing the road in Phoenix, but who's responsible for that? Was it the algorithm? Was it the person in the car who was looking at their phone as opposed to supervising the car? There's some really, really big issues. We're doing some work with the World Economic Forum on this, and they're creating tools to help explain to board members the risks around AI and how to think about areas like accountability for AI and so on. So, and you know yourself, getting skills is difficult. Now, I'm not going to go through the third area of data and technology because you're going to be spending all of today talking to and hearing to it from a lot of companies on this in the details of how to implement. But we know the big mega trends in data science, cloud native, automation, rise of ML platforms. Natural language processing is really hot at the moment. It's moved from being supervised to an unsupervised problem. You might have heard of OpenAI refusing to give out their libraries because it's going to endanger all of us in the world because they'd analyzed a few million more documents. Explainable AI, this area is absolutely huge because the regulators are starting to come down and saying you cannot put fully autonomous decision making that impacts us as individuals into production and into use with customers unless you can explain the logic and allow people to opt out of it as well. And the other trend you're going to get as data scientists is everybody complains about the IT department that their backlog is too low and the marketing can't get anything they want. What's going to happen to data science as well is that the people in the functional departments like marketing and finance, they're going to want more and more empowerment to do data science themselves, and then you become experts to consult with them. So it's pushing back to the business. So there's a lot, just for the sake of time. The other side that will probably impact you is on technology is the question of how do you buy, if you're in a big company, how do you buy AI solutions from startups? How do you make sure that the AI startups are any good? Are the models have efficacy? Do they follow good AI practices? So you're going to start to see a lot of procurement frameworks coming out from your colleagues in contracts and things if you're looking to work with AI startups here. The World Economic Forum, for example, is working with the UK government on a new framework. And effectively, this is questions that you need to ask of AI startups if you're going to use them. Operationalization, I think all of you know the challenges of how do you get technology from pilot into wider production. And a particular challenge for data scientists is instead of spending time on model building and hypothesis analysis, is you end up spending a lot of time on infrastructure, deployment, and data engineering across the ML end-to-end workflow. So 38% report difficulty in deploying models to the needed scale as a result of resource challenges in DevOps. 30% report challenges in supporting different programming languages and frameworks, and 30% report challenges in model management tasks such as versioning. Which version of the model am I on? Is this familiar to people? Hands up. Yep, okay, yep. And then risk management is the final area involved. And as I touched on, what are the risks involved in using AI? And my colleague put this together. There's really two dimensions to it. Did the technology fail? Or frankly, did humans fail? And often a lot of the issues with AI is that humans fail. Now we saw the Uber crash But there's an example here. Who's heard of Microsoft Chatbot Tay? Has anybody heard of that? Yeah, great. I mean, it's a simple example, but we actually use that with boards, where the chatbot started getting racist and fairly offensive in its activity. And it was kind of like, well, the AI is racist and offensive. And it's, no, that's crap. What it was trained on historic human behavior that actually shows we're racist and offensive. So it was putting a real spotlight and a mirror on humans. But somehow the AI gets blamed for it. There's plenty of other examples. Amazon's HR system, which they actually pulled, recommended employees to hire after the interview process. And guess what? Young, white, male engineers. Great. That's wonderful for a company's reputation when it comes to being inclusive and non-discriminatory. But then we have other examples over here. Admiral Insurance, which was looking to do insurance for offer insurance policies, would scan Facebook profiles of you individually to look at your behaviors. So did you smoke? Did you party too much? Do you seem to be a reckless type of person? You could even say gender, race, that sort of thing was the worry. And guess what? Your insurance premiums could go up easily based on your Facebook profile. Facebook said, cut that crap out, quite rightly. So that actually had to be pulled. So we did some analysis on different ethics, responsibility, policies. There's so many AI policymakers because no one's going to disagree that AI should be unethical, and everyone seems to have an opinion on it, so everybody's talking about it, especially in government. So we found over 30 frameworks for policies on responsible AI. This is one we like, the Institute for Ethical AI and Machine Learning. For those who are interested, the regulators are, for GDPR data privacy, is the Information Commissioner's Office in the UK. And they've just put out, we don't need to go through the details, they've just put out some discussion documents on the different types of risks that they see with AI. Fairness, accuracy, automated decision. If you're interested in this, go and take a look at it. And they're also looking for startups who are at the cusp of AI regulation to go and work with them more closely. Good guys, very pragmatic. Most people are afraid of regulators because it sounds like it will slow down innovation, but they take a very practical view of it. So I'll wrap up. Generally, successful AI-driven projects need more than just data science. You need alignment across all of these 6 factors here. Get the right plan, mobilize the right people, get buy-in. As you know better than I, get the data, label the data, get the right tech stack in place, scale it up and make it operational, and make sure that you're managing the risks associated with it. I'll save this for another day, but they put out a paper last weekend on the challenges for AI startups and how you go about raising money and making sure that you successfully move from being a technology-based startup to being able to sell and scale into the enterprise. The biggest challenge we see with AI startups is brilliant founders who have a lot of technical data background, but there needs to be experience of how you take that technology and sell it into enterprise corporations. So how do you cross the commercial divide from technology to the enterprise? And that's the biggest challenge. If you are interested, just search for that article in there. So that's about it. Hopefully there was something interesting there. We're AI management consultants. We love startups. We love data. We love AI. We would love to chat with you as well. So thank you. Thank you very much.
We have 5 minutes for questions. Anyone have a question?
Question over here.
Hi, loved your talk and great talk. Talking about sectors, they say the car of the future would be the biggest supercomputer, or whatever is the thing. So, do you think that the connected car or driverless cars and does that sector play into this analogy of gold rush?
Yeah.
You know, how do we decipher the myth from?
Yeah. So if I understand you, is what do I think of the autonomous vehicle sector?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think. I mean, there's very much a gold rush mentality going on with the autonomous vehicles, because all of us can get the picture of how, if vehicles do become autonomous, our quality of our lives are going to improve. We're not going to be stuck in traffic, getting stressed. Our city streets would be that much cleaner. So that's why you see a huge amount of money going into it. So obviously, Wayra from Google, Pony AI just raised 100 million. All of the large automobile manufacturers, Fords, BMW, etc., are focused on this area. But I don't know how you feel about it, but the complexity of the problems involved. Now, let's say there's an autonomous vehicle that's driving down the street, and on the sidewalk or the pavement, it sees something coming at it. It's a kid versus a runner. Now, a runner will probably, and I run in London a lot, get eye contact with the driver, and we recognize that we've seen each other. But what if it's a kid? So how do you make a lot of these sort of decisions? And then other examples would be simple things like you're driving down the road, there's traffic lights, and the wind is blowing, and the trees and the leaves cover the stop sign. And what do you do? So there's a lot of complexity just in these problems. So I think if we do start to see autonomous vehicles in the near term, they're probably going to be in use cases that are very constrained, just driving on the motorway from point to point. But I cannot imagine autonomous vehicles in London. We all live and work in London. I mean, the scooters are bloody enough a nightmare that are just appearing at this point, let alone everybody walking down the streets as zombies on their phone like this. So it's the complexity. I don't know, when do people think autonomous vehicles will be?
Well, it's not just the autonomous vehicles, it comes
Yeah.
to the smart car or smart home.
Oh.
Going into the autonomous vehicle or going
Yeah.
to autonomous shopping centre as well. So that's another level of data.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for your talk. I'm assuming you do that talk a lot to managers.
Sorry?
And I have the impression that I talk to those managers after similar talks as yours, and a lot of friends of mine have done. And they kind of follow your pattern quite a lot. We've found ourselves stuck in a very common loop, which is someone very senior at a very big company says, I need AI, because you've convinced them, the company isn't doing it, so they need AI. And step two is hire data scientists. So they hire big data scientists who looks very shiny. And from that point, something strange happens. There's no clear objectives. The data's not there. And when you reach out to the CTO, he's like, yeah, but that's not on my priority list. When you reach out to the CEO, say, that should be on the priority list because I'm not being helpful. Like, yeah, but I don't understand the problem.
Yeah.
We have data. Like, yeah, but it's not in the right shape, right format. And after 6 months, the person leaves and writes a blog post about, to quote one of my friends, being a trophy data scientist.
Yeah.
Who's just there so that there's someone on LinkedIn so that the CEO can use their photo and say, we're doing AI.
Yeah.
Is this something that you've seen a reaction to recently? Is this something that you've made aware of?
And I missed what was the core problem you were saying?
The best example, when I join a company, I would say the best task for data science is the most boring task. If you have a large team of people paid minimum wage who do something very repetitive, and can I please talk to these customer service people? And usually when you join the company who has a big customer service, they're like, oh yeah, we spend a lot of money on the phone to people, but we don't know what a phone call is about. So if you want to classify what a phone call is about, you just don't have that information. So you say, can we gather that information? It's like, yeah, but that's not a priority for customer service.
Yeah. I'll turn it back to the audience. Any thoughts on that one who've got direct experience? Yeah, over there? Yeah. Yeah.
And they ask us to, sorry, I work in a company, we put tracking cameras on football fields, and they ask us to automatically calculate football passes, players moving, but the data was absolutely rubbish, so we are not able to design it. So what we design is a system that rely on legacy data that they wanted to decommission, and they said that's not good enough, so they closed the project. So it's a case-by-case approach. If you approach the business saying, you do not have enough quality on the data to progress, you need to be honest, straight up front. I was honest, and the project was shut down, so I lost my job. But that's the reality. If you are not honest, if you are going on a dead end, you are never going to commit. Example, in my case, I was honest to the company, and I'm leaving, and they are giving me a package, and they're saying, right, this project didn't work. We should try something new. And I said, right, I don't want to try something new because I don't believe on the route that you guys are taking. So I'm going on my own way with my own ideas.
Yeah.
I learned awesome things here with you guys. Thank you, but no thank you. We are not going to be able to deliver what you want in the time frame that you want to sell because you need probably 10 years of research to achieve it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. How much do you sell? I mean, what we generally advise for organizations starting on their AI journey is take a portfolio approach, which is take some very low-hanging fruit projects that should have quick impact, take some midterm projects that will perhaps have a large impact, but there's higher risk, and then you've got some organizations sort of taking moonshot projects as well. So I think it needs to be explained across a risk spectrum here in the approaches that we've seen that work.
I think we're out of time.
We're out of time?
Yeah, sorry. So we have a little bit of a break now until 11 o'clock. Yeah, then there'll be more sessions. Thank you very much.